Wicked plans on taking that outside for launch or no? Speaking of launches, Apollo 9. The mission patch shows what the objective is. Going to see how well the command service module and the LEM are going to function. And there is a slight error in the schematic of this patch. And here you can see why. They wouldn't actually dock from the side. It would be more this orientation. 50 years later, the commemorative patch. So all the 50-year commemorative patches have this gold stitching along the outside. They did do a correction. Not necessarily that that's an error, just something people would point out. What you want to jot down in your notes for Apollo 9, it's the first mission to test the Command Service Module and Lunar Module. You jot down the 3 names. You have McDivitt. That was the Gemini crewmate of Ed White. He assisted with the first U.S. spacewalk. Astronaut Scott and Swaggart. So we have a new spacecraft module layout for you to observe. This is mostly a standing room only vehicle, so you'd have one operator here, another operator here, the 2 astronauts in the LEM. And here's some footage from the Apollo 9 mission. You see the LEM is folded up into this upper stage of the Saturn V. So the Command Service Module pilot is turning the vehicle around to dock, connect, to retrieve this out from the upper stage. Successful retrieval and heading to the moon to descend. And unmanned, this is just seeing the functionality of this LEM. It wasn't about going to the moon, seeing if it was working. It was more about, can we physically retract the LEM? Can this become a reality? This is astronaut McDivitt, who's doing an EVA spacewalk. The only reason I know it's astronaut McDivitt is because of the red helmet. Red usually was used to distinguish the commander of the mission, and less in the helmets in future missions and more red stripes. And my brother loves to show me that he's seen things that I haven't in related to the world's space exploration. This is the Apollo 9 capsule in display in the San Diego Science Museum. Probably why capsules aren't designed with key systems. Apollo 10. Patch for Apollo 10, a bit of a throwback to Gemini 9. You have John Young being a member of this crew, and he was a member of the Gemini 9 crew. So the nice large Roman numeral in the backdrop is a nice Roman numeral here, and also a little bit of X marks the spot. The purpose of Apollo 10, full-on practice run for mission to the moon. Cernan, Young, and Stafford, they're going to do the full dress rehearsal. They're going to do absolutely everything that the upcoming Apollo 11 mission will do, minus one thing. And that one thing will be to put 2 astronauts in the lunar descent module and actually have people walk on the moon. So they're going to do everything the infamous Apollo 11 mission, which had 2 people walk on the surface of the moon. This is the final preparation for that flight. So Apollo 10, practice run for mission to the moon. Cernan, Young, Stafford. This is May of '69. Posing for one of the crew photos. I'm sure they always take fun joke photos, but they don't always get published. This situation where we are fortunate to have one of those fun photos that you can see the astronauts are playing with the speak no evil, see no evil, hear no evil mantra. Another crew shot, obviously not to scale. This is the one that made into the magazine of Life. The lunar module, they gave the nickname of Snoopy. Charles Schulz was the author of the Peanuts comic strip where Snoopy was a main character, and he was an advocate of the space program for NASA, and he sent along with the mission, you'll see Stafford and Young here, they have this image of Snoopy that was drawn by Schulz for the mission. And throughout the years, Snoopy's kind of been a bit of a mascot for NASA. See here for the Gemini 10, all systems are go. Snoopy giving the thumbs up there. And a little good luck charm for the astronauts as they depart their temporary quarters to head to the launch pad. And always good to see the emphasis on safety. Mission success is in your hands. The Flight Safety Spaceflight Awareness Team. Here's the world-famous astronaut approaching the moon. So Snoopy, the character we mentioned back in the Barnstormers with the pioneers and first in flight, he always liked to picture himself on top of his doghouse as though he's a World War baron. And here he is imagining himself an astronaut going to the moon. There's a nickname for a technological device that is used, and it's the CCA. It's the Communications Carrier Assembly, and it's been nicknamed the Snoopy Cap, as it kind of resembles the Beagle with the white and the dark sides. So a few astronauts here, John Young, adorning themselves with the essential apparatus that's going to allow them to communicate when they have their helmets and their suits fully pressurized. So the Snoopy Cap. Here are Stafford and Cernan with their Snoopy caps in training for their Apollo 10 mission. And the one with the most original of the Snoopy caps, Snoopy himself. Snoopy is such an integral part of the family of NASA. When astronauts return from successful missions, they are provided an opportunity to highlight someone on the ground team. Can be engineer just throughout the whole level of support for missions. The astronaut can designate someone able to receive the Silver Snoopy Award. These are highly, highly coveted awards for people to receive from astronauts. The Apollo 10 landing site, remember it's just to put the Snoopy module down on the surface without any occupants. They had the Snoopy lander and the area designated as Camelot. And of course, if your lunar module is going to be called Snoopy, you kind of have to have your command module be known as Charlie Brown. John Young, not only the first human to have a corned beef sandwich in space, but he became the first person to fly solo around the moon. Be thinking, wait a second, I thought you said people didn't go on the surface of the moon. Well, that's true. Cernan and Stafford went into the Snoopy, the LEM module, and they practiced firing maneuvers and surveyed over the area that Apollo 11 would land on, but they separated from the descent piece to rendezvous with John Young. So they didn't land on the surface of the moon in their Snoopy module, but they did get into the Snoopy module, did do some piloting of it, and made sure everything would be great for the Apollo 11 upcoming mission. That's what makes John Young the first person to fly solo around the moon. So I jogged your memory that he ate the corned beef sandwich in space, part of his Gemini days. He had a bit of a fun streak to him, but I'm sure it was more than just John Young being part of that mission. NASA had the foresight to only provide enough fuel on the lunar descent module for half the journey, so it had half the fuel. Only enough fuel to make sure that they could complete the rendezvous maneuvers that they needed to, and if they did decide to go rebel, I mean, how tempting would it be? The moon is right there in front of you. That if the astronauts did decide to take it on their own accord to land on the moon, they would not have enough fuel to return. The accolade the astronauts for Apollo 10 do get to achieve, and still have the record for, is they're the fastest humans have ever traveled. And they traveled at a rate of 25,800 kilometers per hour, just under 25,000 miles per hour. Or think of it as 37/10,000% the speed of light. Their first live color transmission from space that hit the TV airwaves, and a little featurette of them discussing the preparation for the upcoming first humans to walk on the moon, afforded them the opportunity to submit and be recognized by the Television Award, and they did in fact go on to receive an Emmy for their broadcast from space, first live color broadcast TV. And when I show this picture in class, students are often quick to make fun of Cernun's facial expression here, and no need to be quick to judgment or anything. It's one of those things we've all experienced when a photo is taken at a very precise second in time, where we've all had, I didn't have my eyes all the way open, I'm a half blink, oh, you got me half yawn, not quite smiling. So nothing more to it than that, friends. And these are your very first colored images of the Earth from space. Pretty outstanding.